Hello YouTube, this is Morgan, Airspeed Prime here with my next news update video. Two things to talk about here. One, the second one we'll get to towards the end. It's a bit like hopeful, but what are we actually going to do? The main piece of news here is that Deja Vu, Turf Wars Part 3 has been delayed again. This just keeps happening with Turf Wars. It just keeps going on and on and on. And the one book that, like, it feels like they need to get through this before we can get the big core stories that we want, and it's just taking so long to come out. This was initially, I think, scheduled for June 13th, I think. Now, as you can see here, it's September 4th, 2018. End of August for comic book stores rather than September 4th here, which is the mass market date. But still, that is a really big delay, and it's honestly not good enough. I think that's the main thing to kind of get out here, is that everything that we know, according to Irene Coe, she said she finished up art in like December or something like that. And I get that with these books, there's like kind of review processes, and maybe she has to go back and redo some of the art. But by the time you're doing the art, like, I assume that means the writing is done. Coloring probably still needs to be done, but like, what's happening with this book that's causing so many delays? The only thing I can think of at this point is that, is it just Dark Horse messing around with their release dates for some reason? Because I don't really see any reason for this, why there's anything significant to the date that they're putting the book out on now. Like September 4th, which is like August 22nd, I think, for comic book stores. What's the point of that? Because what it does do is it puts Turf Wars Part 3 now very close to Team Avatar Tales. It means that Turf Wars will come out to August 22nd in comic stores, and then 2 weeks later on September 5th, that's when Team Avatar Tales comes out in comic stores. And then the following month is when Imbalance Part 1 comes out, and then I assume once we get the Turf Wars Library Edition announced, that's probably going to be out at some point this year, I'd expect. Usually those things tend to be like August, November releases, but with Turf Wars and what's happened with it, it could be pushed back a little bit more, but I'm not really sure. It hasn't been announced yet. But it's just a sense of everything that comes out about Turf Wars is always something about delays. And as I said, I think it's the last book that needs the delays. And this, combined with the fact that we still don't have any idea about like what's coming afterwards. Like when Turf Wars is over, are they doing more Korra comics? Have you found a new artist, since we know Irene Coe isn't staying on board? And if a lot of these delays are down to Irene Coe and her schedule, or the fact that she can't potentially stick to the schedule that they want to have for these books, then the need to find an artist that's a little bit more efficient. What's going on here? What's the plan? And I think that's the case with just Dark Horse in general. Even Avatar comics, it's like, it's cool, we now know about Imbalance, and it was cool that with that announcement we got in Team Avatar Tales at the same time. But what about assurances about what's coming in the future? Where is the story heading? Is there a goal? Is the new creative team with Faith Erin Hicks and Peter Wortman sticking on board for multiple books? Or is it just one book and then we'll have to find new artists again? I get that to a degree we're in this situation because two key things have happened at basically the exact same time, which has led to large periods of just nothing happening with the comics. And that is that Turf Wars, the first Korra comic with a new creative team that had crazy, getting new artists on board because of the whole Brittany Williams thing at the start, that happened at the same time that Team Gurihuru and Jean Yang stepped down from working on Avatar comics, and they had to get a new creative team on board there. But now, are you prepared for, like, when we go into like 2019, are the books going to be scheduled more throughout the year? Because the problem I think that we have right now is that, Turf Wars Part 2 came out in January. The next book isn't until, it's August 22nd. That's, you're going from January to August with nothing except a free comic book. that's where it's not good enough. So in 2019, are we going to see some books come out in the start of the year, and the middle of the year, and the end of the year? Or, as it seems to happen this year, is it just going to be a case where, because Turf Wars Part 2 was delayed, the only reason Turf Wars Part 2 is even out this year is because of delays on that book. So is 2019 going to be like this year, where everything's coming out within like a 5-week period, basically, from like late August into like early October? That's where I think the frustration comes in, because Turf Wars has had huge gaps between each book coming out, and that even just saying that January to like August, September, and it's just the wait between Part 2 and Part 3. That's huge. That's a huge gap between a part of a book. And Part 2 was not good enough to keep the discussion going for that long. So I hope Part 3 is good. I'd love to know what the exact reasoning behind this is. But, it just speaks to either they're really struggling to get things organized with the artist, potentially Mike, the writer, is having some issues, the colorist Vivian Ing, we just don't know, or else it's Dark Horse just messing around with like printing dates and when exactly they want the books to come out. That's the frustration definitely that's coming in here. I want it to be better, but do I suspect it will be? I'm not sure. But I think as we approach, the big Comic-Con seasons, and we'll be expecting news from like San Diego Comic-Con, or more than likely New York Comic-Con tends to be where we get just before New York Comic-Con tends to be where we get the news. Will there be another article that comes out that reveals some stuff? And I suppose the hope here would be that we get the announcement of what's coming next for Korra Comics, because Part 3 obviously comes out after Comic-Con. I think it comes out after SDCC, but before NYCC. So by the time New York Comic-Con comes around, obviously we'll be leading into Imbalance. But are they just going to do the thing like they did with Turf Wars, where they basically just created a delay long enough for like Turf Wars to just be the only book out? We still have yet to have like really crossover kind of books where like the end of one series is sort of happening at the same time as another series is starting. Which I think we need. That we need quality books and consistent releases. And the problem has been that we kind of haven't had either of those things in a while. Turf Wars, I don't think, has been up to par with the other comics. North and South, as the last Avatar comic, wasn't the best. It was, I think, it's good, but it was nowhere near the quality of the other ones. And then Imbalance, I have some questions about it. I'm not overly excited compared to what they could be doing. And that's where they really need to deliver on announcements, what their plan is. Because right now it just feels like we're getting comics and it's cool, but the comics are what Avatar is now. We're not expecting a new show anytime soon. So the comics are what Avatar story content is at this point in time. It basically is what the fandom is. And I don't think they've been, hitting the mark all that much recently. But hopefully, the books come out and they're better than I expect them to be. But it's just, it's frustrating. As someone who runs primarily an Avatar channel, it's frustrating to have to do like news videos. And the only thing there is to talk about is like, oh, this book's been delayed for like 3 months now at this point, and it's like the 4th or 5th delay overall that the series has encountered. And it was announced in like 2016, and the book's only going to be coming out like a couple of months before 2019 starts, and it's just a 3-part comic. It's like crazy to think that it's taken this long. The other piece of news is this tweet that Jeremy Zuckerman put up a while ago. I know some people have been, saying things like that. Oh, every so often on Twitter, Jeremy Zuckerman, posts up that something that seems to hint towards the fact that the rest of the Korra soundtracks will be coming out. And this is the more recent one from about 12 days ago. And he says, in response to someone asking, is hoping that the rest of the Korra soundtracks come out soon because they're one of the best soundtracks. He says, not today, but there will come a day, and there will come a day is in all caps, as you can see there. I'd love to be excited. You can see it's got 118 likes, which is, I think, a lot for something that he's posted, and it shows that there's an audience there who's kind of following him with the expectation that at some time there will be this big announcement, but it hasn't happened yet. He's said stuff like this every couple of months, hinting that still working on it, I have hope that it'll happen, or this one where there will come a day. But to me, I think to anyone thinking about this, it's the longer we go on, the less likely the soundtrack is to happen, because there's no show coming out to initially create a bigger hype for Avatar. So what are they waiting for here? And the only thing coming up is the 10th anniversary of the ending of ATLA, which we're still obviously waiting for that. Is that what they're doing? Are they waiting for the DVD release to come out? But then that's Avatar, and he's talking about the Korra soundtrack here. So I'm not sure what's happening here. This is something that obviously should have came out years ago, 2014 at the very least, but it's 2018 now. What's making him say this? Because we've done petitions and asked him ever so often. I think anytime there's an interview with him where it's Avatar focused, he's asked the question, and he doesn't ever deny that oh, it's never going to happen, but he hints at it. But what is there to this? And I think until there's actual reasoning behind this, why are you saying that, I don't think there's anything really to discuss. I don't think there's anything to be overly excited about just because he said this, because it's been 4 years since the show came to an end. What's happening right now that's going to lead to this? Are they talking about the 5-year anniversary of the end of Avatar? The end of Korra? Next year? I'm not sure, but that's the video. In the comments, let me know what your thoughts are on another delay for Turf Wars, and the potential hope that the Korra soundtracks are coming. But yeah, let me know that stuff in the comments below. But yeah, that's been the video. Thanks for watching, and bye.